Hey guys, I gotta admit this is gonna be the hardest video I've done so far. And that's partly out of frustration and disappointment and partly out of pride. And it is, as you probably expected by the thumbnail, it is about the cows that we got. The heifers or cows or whatever. The pride part of it well, there's not much I can do about it. But I'm very disappointed. Very. If you remember in the last video, the only video I put out about the cows, now I did do some more recording, but I never did put up those videos because things have changed. So I don't really feel the need to put those videos up that I did of them. But in the first video, the only video, I told you guys that the guy that brought them told me that one of them, the older one, might be bred. He said the bull got in with them, and it was, you know, an accident on their part, but the bull got in with them and got to her. He said he can't guarantee that she's bred, but he that is a possibility. And he said, so you might get a free one. You might get a free calf. When I was talking to these people about purchasing these Dexters, it was at a site on social media, a Dexter page, and all I wanted was a couple of Dexters, a couple of steers, but that didn't happen. But I didn't want anything registered. I didn't want anything special. I've not dealt with cows very much at all, don't know anything about them, and just wanted something, you know, as cheap as possible. There were a couple that I was looking at from two different places, both a couple of hours away, and I needed somebody to transport them because I don't have a trailer. And that in itself might be kind of silly to a lot of you who are more experienced, but I didn't anticipate really having that much trouble. I was going to get a couple of steers. Turns out steers are more expensive right now. So I got what I was told. It was a couple of heifers between the ages of 8 and 10 months old. I was dealing with a woman at first, but quickly in the conversation I realized that her grown son would be involved a lot, because she had to ask him to do the transportation, and she had to there was just a couple things she had to get with him on. So 8 to 10 months old, they got out here, and I looked down in the trailer. You know, you saw we met them up at the Dollar General, and they followed me out to my house, and I looked down in the trailer, and they were, you know, cows, short cows. I don't know anything about them. They weren't skinny. They didn't look sick. So I said, all right, and we unloaded them, and they took off. They're in a pen, you know. I've got a pretty good sized pen here for them to acclimate to their new surroundings, and for me to kind of get to know them a little bit better, because I didn't know anything about them, didn't know if they were gentle or what. And it was at that point that I could tell that one was older than the other because of the size of the horns, and it was bigger. It was a little bit bigger. It didn't seem to be a whole lot bigger. And so I asked the age, and he said the first one was the smaller one was about 8 to 10 months old, and the second one was just under a year. And in talking, when he told me about the part where the bull had gotten in and bred with her, I said, well, is she going to be big enough to carry the calf? And he, you know, because if she's still that young, and he, oh yeah, they have small calves. Yeah, she's plenty big enough, you know, to do that. And so, okay. And I asked him again, got company. I asked him again, you know, how old she was, because she had told me that, I mean, I asked him again how old he was because he had told me that she was bred. It just, I don't know, he said she was accidentally bred, and it just made me question how old she was again. It was, it was more of a concern than a sense of deception. She's licking me. Hang on. So yeah, it was more of out of concern. Is she going to be old enough? Is she going to be big enough or whatever? Because I don't know how big they get. I don't know how big I mean, I have an idea. I've seen them before, and that's why I wanted them, because they are smaller. But I didn't know where she, you know, where she was in that process. So that's why I asked. Not out of, you know, any sense of deception on their part. And he assured me, you know, everything was okay. She would be big enough. And he said, you know, he's never had to pull a Dexter. They have them and breed them all the time. And he has certain other cattle, you know, as well. And he named them. And I don't know the breeds, but he named them and said the Dexters are the easiest as far as as far as birthing goes. The Dexters are the easiest. Never had problems with that. He said, one day you'll come out and there'd be a calf on the ground. I said, well, cool. And I hope she's bred. And he left. And like I said, we didn't really get a good look at them. And they were out here. You see in the video that we try to get closer and they kind of stay away from us. But it was the next day when we fed and they came up to us, that I was looking at her, and it's like, she's probably not a might be bred. I think she pretty much is bred, and I felt certain that she was bred just by looking at her. After the next day we got a closer look at them, and they came up when we fed them and everything, I was pretty certain that she was bred, and further along than I thought when he originally told me she was bred. I didn't expect her to be that far along. So I called a friend over who knows a little bit about cattle, at least a lot more than me. And she came out and looked at her, and she said either that is older and is a cow and has had calves before, or she is bred and she is close to giving birth. And then there was the size difference of the horns that also kind of tipped her off to maybe that one's a little bit older. And now the woman had told me, you know, she had 4 for sale. She had 2 2-year-olds with 8-month-old calves at their side, and she also had a couple of 8 to 10-month-old weaned heifers. And then she had some more coming up. They just weren't quite old enough yet. She wanted to make sure they were eating grass and grain, but she wanted to make sure that they were further along before she sold them. So I decided on the 2 younger ones because of the price. And keep in mind, they were transporting. I was also paying for transportation, also paying for transporting them to my house 2 hours away. So price was definitely something to consider. There are some closer here. I mean, there are some real close, but they start at $1,500. So, you know, and I couldn't get just one. I need at least 2. Today is April 28th, Thursday, April 28th. And I got them Sunday before last. So this past Sunday was a week. Monday morning, Greg came out to feed, and they were doing fine. And then I went to work. He came with me, so there was no one home. And when I get home, I always come out and check on everybody. You know, Greg does the feeding, most of it. Usually after I get home, I help him with the feeding. But I came home and you know, fed the bottle baby and headed out to check on the cows and feed them. And so when I came out, they both came up to eat. But the first thing I noticed was that the older one had actually gone into labor, and the calf was presented. The head was out, and one leg was out, one of the front legs, and it was dead. Which was extremely disappointing when I saw that. I mean, just extremely. And then the next thought was kind of fear, because I didn't know what to do next. Like, I don't have a trailer. And so I called my friend, and she said, you know, the vet that we use, like I use for my goats and she uses, has done house calls. And I called the emergency line, because like I said, after I got off work, everybody's closed. And I didn't have a head chute, so they wouldn't come out. I had to get a trailer and take it in. Well, it took a while to get a trailer out here, find someone that had a trailer and get it out here. It was late before we got home, but she pulled the calf, and she said that, you know, it was fully developed. It hadn't been dead long. And she, of course, checked for a twin, made sure the placenta came out and all that. But she said it was just presented wrong. And we talked about it, and she kind of like, you know, because I was upset. I say upset, I was kind of angry at myself, because if I had been here, but I can't miss work, and I had no idea she was that far along. He said she might be bred. So I was upset at myself, and she was kind of like, well, you know, the alternative that it had been dead a long time would be a different story, cost-wise and medically. So, you know, she kind of helped me out a little bit there, kind of talked me down a little bit. And I wasn't like real upset. I wasn't angry or crying or anything like that. I was just upset, frustrated, and upset with myself for being naive, I guess. The calf was dead. It was, you know, they got everything out, put her back in the trailer, calf in the trailer, headed back to the house. Now I got to figure out what to do with this calf. Anyway, she told me everything looked good, and that I shouldn't have any problems with her. The only concern would be if she quit eating or drinking. If she didn't eat or drink, to let her know. And so the next morning, Greg came out to feed, and she was laying down, and she got up and came over and got a drink of water, but she wouldn't eat. So I came out to look at her, and she was laying back down. It was, you know, probably 20 minutes later before I came back out. So, but she was laying down, and I went up to her and pet her on top of the head and talked to her, tried to, you know, kind of get her up. She usually would get up. She would let me pet her. Usually when she's eating, she'd let me pet her some, you know, when she wasn't eating. But for her to stay laying down and me touching her, that wasn't normal. And I grabbed her horn and tried to, you know, pulled on a little bit, trying to get her to get up, and she wouldn't. And so Greg came out and he coaxed her up, and so we went into town, and I went to the vet and talked to the same veterinarian, told her what's going on, that we had to get her up, we had to make her get up, and that she drank, but she's not eating. And the vet seemed not super concerned, and maybe I read her wrong, but she was like, well, maybe, she said, maybe, you know, that was just too traumatic on her small frame. Maybe that was just too hard for her with her small frame. And she said, I'm going to give you I'm going to give you a syringe of I forgot the name of it. It's an anti-inflammatory, and then a syringe of vitamin B, and then a gel, a calcium gel, and then what they call a keto gel. And she said the keto gel would give her, along with the vitamin B, would give her a little bit of energy, but the keto gel would give her an appetite, make her hungry, make her want to eat. and didn't seem like that big of a deal. She seemed surprised that the cow was having problems the next day, but then didn't really seem too worried about it. So I went from there to work and came home from work with the stuff from the vet. And my dad met me at the house because he's got a tractor, which he bought just recently. So anyway, my dad was supposed to meet me at the house, get the tractor, let's, help us get the calf. And because we brought it back home, needed to do something with it. And I filmed that part. I filmed us coming home. I took feed and was going to film the part where, I gave her the injections and all that. And so here it is. Just got home, went by the vet today, told him what was going on with that cow. She didn't seem too concerned about it. Said with that cow's small frame, it must have been just too hard on her, too stressful. So she gave me some anti-inflammatory, an injection, vitamin B, calcium gel, and some kind of keto gel. Said it'd give her energy. She didn't seem too concerned about it. But she didn't make it. Just came home and found that. So, I filmed all of it. I recorded all of it. I didn't know how much I was going to show when I filmed it. I mean, like I said, it's embarrassing. It's painful. It's painful to watch. You don't want to see animals suffer or die or anything. But there's the, the time, effort, cost. At least it was just 1 week, I guess. But yeah, it's embarrassing. And I guess the biggest reason that it's hard to tell the story is I'm not real good at math. I mean, I'm not bad, but I'm not real good at math. But I know that if a cow or heifer, whichever she was just under a year old and she gave birth full term, calf is fully developed at just under a year old, and gestation is 9 months. Something's not right there, right? So yeah, this other one, this heifer over here, this young one, she's pretty upset. She doesn't want to be alone. She was upset when we were, we brought the tractor to get a calf, and then we ended up getting the cow too. Yeah, you can see her running to the end of the fence and, making all kinds of noise and ruckus because it upset her. And I don't know the relation between her and that cow. My suspicion is that this one that I have might have been, hers. But I don't know. Have no idea how old she was. But she was definitely older than what they told me. Now I know some of you guys are gonna drop comments about what I should do. How I should handle it, how I should take it, legally or however or what I should have done differently. And yeah, there's a lot of things I guess I could have done differently. We did make tentative arrangements for me to come out there to look at them first. She gave me her address and I looked it up, on the internet, and it was her address. She does live there. I mean, you can search that stuff up on the internet. And so I felt comfortable with just having them bring them out. A couple of Dexters, what could go wrong, So they're a little bit younger than they say, or maybe a little bit older than they say, but I never thought that this would happen. But as far as doing something to get even with them, I'm not going to do it. I'm more frustrated with myself than I am with them at times. Not always. I do get a little angry if I think about it. See, she's upset. If I think about it, I mean, I get upset at them, but mostly it's myself. But I'm not going to get even. What I did do, I sent her a message and told her what happened, just in simple sentences. Your son brought him out on Sunday. Said the one was 8 to 10 months old. The other one was just under a year. Of course, to me, 10 months old is just under a year. So I don't know what that meant to him, but I said, he told me that a bull got with her and she might be bred. A week later, she goes into labor, has complications. It's a bull calf. It got stuck. It died. I took her to the vet. The vet removed it, sent her home. The next day, she died. And then I said, your son said almost a year, and gestation is 9 months. And that's all I said. And it showed that she read it. So I know, I mean, it, you know, she opened it anyway. It showed that she opened it. So I know she saw it. I also sent a picture of the calf, and then a picture of her in the pen dead. But that's all I'm going to do. I'm positive that I could sue. We have text messages. I have her address. She has mine. I have her name. It is her name. Like I said, I looked her up on the internet. The ages, the vet bills, you know, pictures. I have everything, but I don't have time for that. So, yeah, it's extremely hard doing this video. I want to be as transparent as I can and still have a private life. But I feel like this isn't really getting too deep into my privacy, maybe my pride, but that's a part of the transparency, and I hope you guys appreciate that. I appreciate each and every one of you watching, and I hope that you continue watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.